Hi, today my group and I will talk to you about bed sharing and whether or not it is beneficial or safe during infancy. In the past, mothers and newborns were separated immediately after birth to protect against any dangerous diseases and to keep infants in a safe, secure setting. However, rooming in, a practice that is followed in both hospitals and maternity wards that allows parents to know their babies, was actually found to improve both emotional and psychological development. Bed sharing, which is when parents and infants sleep together, is debatable in terms of public health, with some actually believing it to be a significant risk factor for sudden death syndrome, which you might also know as SIDS. In the 1990s, bed sharing was recognized as a risk factor for SIDS, and by the end of the decade, a strong relationship between bed sharing and smoking was discovered. In some societies where the incidence of SIDS is high, bed sharing is common. However, in other societies where the incidence of SIDS is lower, bed sharing was still found common. There are many factors within observational studies on bed sharing and SIDS, and there aren't that many tests with causes that also have similar outcomes. Other factors included bed sharing during the day compared to night, different age groups, parents who smoke or drink alcohol, and socioeconomic factors. However, even though there is a higher rate of SIDS with bed share, a lower rate of SIDS has been known in developing nations. Notably, those from the Asian community have revealed a lower rate of SIDS. One study confirmed that breastfeeding reduces the risk of SIDS, and an 18-study meta-analysis revealed that breastfeeding is at its strongest when done exclusively. According to research published in the Journal of Pediatrics, 69% of newborn deaths that occurred in 24 U.S. states between the years 2004 and 2012 involved bed sharing, but there is no way to tell if they actually died due to any other risk factors. In conclusion, there is no actual scientific evidence of whether or not bed sharing is safe during infancy. For a more accurate study to be done, other things such as age, drinking, smoking, and breastfeeding would have to be taken into consideration, as there are many other risk factors that can lead to SIDS or influence how likely sudden deaths may occur without bed sharing even taking place. The interview question that we came up with was, how do you feel about bed sharing during infancy and why? So, in the next few clips, you'll see a few of us just going around and, interviewing some people. So, yeah, we hope you enjoy.
Hello, I'm here with
Heather Cannon, and I am one of the school counselors at Rivers Edge Elementary School, and I used to be a school social worker with St. Lucie Public Schools prior to my role here.
How do you feel about co-sleeping?
Co-sleeping with infants, I think there's a lot that can be said about the value to the bonding with an infant and having that security of a mother and father, especially considering the baby has been in the womb for all that time, and now we just place it in a bassinet or in a crib and expect it to be comforted when it's sleeping. But on the flip side of that coin, you've got to be very mindful of the fact that there are safety issues and concerns. People have rolled over unintentionally on top of the infant and smothered an infant, and things like that. So if safety measures are taken appropriately with appropriate boundaries and with the intention of eventually getting the infant to sleep on his or her own, whether it be in a bassinet, a bedside bed kind of thing, I don't know what they call them. I think that is a really great way to introduce a baby to a family. I co-slept with both of my babies, and I only did it for a very short period of time, and it was predominantly because of their feeding patterns and how frequently they were feeding. And after, I would say, probably about a week or so, they then transitioned to like a bassinet that was bedside, and then they transitioned to a crib.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, and would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Gabby. I have a 2-year-old daughter,
Okay.
and I'm a stay-at-home mom during the day, and then I work at night.
For you today is, how do you feel about co-sleeping with an infant?
With an infant, it scares me a little bit,
Okay.
but I ended up doing it.
Okay. So how do you feel about it? So do you feel like it's good for the child, or it's bad, or?
I think for an infant, it's a little bit more risky to do it if you're a heavy sleeper. I'm a light sleeper, so I feel a little bit more comfortable with it because every time she would move, I would feel her.
Mm-hmm.
And I originally only did it when she was sick to give her comfort.
Okay.
I'm here with,
Tracy Brown,
and your degree is in?
psychology.
Okay. What are your thoughts on co-sleeping
With an infant,
with an infant?
I think that it could be potentially dangerous if you don't set it up properly. I did sleep with my infants, but I had them, it was like a barrier between us and then a barrier on the other side. So there are products out there now that you can put in the bed to make co-sleeping more safe. But as far as like bonding with the child and stuff like that, I had my infant in the bed with me for, I would say like the first 3 to 4 months. I also would recommend that something is laid down so that the baby isn't laying directly on the sheets that are in the bed, because you know we shed skin cells, we shed all kinds of stuff. I think it is good. I think it helps the mom more. It's good for the baby because you kind of feel your presence, but it's difficult because when they're little, they wake up very often.
Mm-hmm.
So then that means you're up in the next room, up in the next room, up in the next room, constantly. So I think a lot of mothers sleep with infants just so that in the middle of the night they don't have to get up and leave the room. And it's like you also worry, like, oh my God, what's happening to my baby in the other room?
Mm-hmm. Co-sleeping and the relationship between you and your partner.
Okay, so when I was co-sleeping with my first child, my partner wasn't living in the home with us. So it was just me, it was just her and I. With the second baby, there wasn't as much co-sleeping because the other child was in the other room. So we tried, I think it was more like about a month and a half with her, and then we put her in the bed. It is difficult. My reason was because I wanted to watch my baby. After, there's a 6-week span in the relationship after you have a child that the intimacy has to decline during that time so that the mother can heal. So once that time was over, of course, the expectations of the partner who's been waiting is that you now are going to get your intimacy back.
Okay.
So in that sense, yes, the baby had to go sleep in her room because I have a partner in the bed with me. For intimacy purposes, we don't need to have a baby in the room, you know, because if you do that, it kind of does drive a wedge in the relationship, because the sleeping between partners is supposed to be something that happens. Yes, you go to bed, but that's also intimacy time at night in the bed. So you don't want to have the kids sleeping in there for too long, because then they get comfortable and they don't want to sleep in their room. And then every night you have kids in your bed and the intimacy between you and your partner starts to decline. So that's also something when it comes to partners that is like a big thing in relationships, is that the kids need to sleep in their own bed so that we can be intimate.
Due to many different factors, there is no specific evidence of whether bed sharing is safe or not. The evidence that may seem like anything is very low quality, or for an accurate study to be done, there will need to be many things taken into consideration, such as ages, breastfeeding, smoking, drinking, and many other things. These things will have to be taken into consideration because they can be led to SIDS or influence how likely sudden deaths may occur without even bed sharing taking place.